Thank you for coming to the capital of Pakistan, Islamabad. It's like the capital of Australia. Not many people come to the capital of Australia because it's very small and quite boring. Islamabad is much more exciting, but I'm sure where you are from is also a beautiful place. I haven't visited much of KPK. I think many of you are from KPK. And the cricket team there, how did they do this year? What's the cricket team?
Peshawar Zalmi.
Zalmi, yes. I have a nice shirt from the Zalmi, but I haven't worn it yet. So my name is Neil Hawkins. I'm the Australian High Commissioner. I was the High Commissioner also, or the Ambassador in Saudi Arabia and also in Egypt. At university I studied Arabic and Islamic studies, so I can speak and read and write Arabic. فممكن أتحدث معكم باللغة العربية لو تحبوا. But I won't speak in Arabic today. Why did I get involved in Arabic and Islamic studies? My father worked for 26 years with the United Nations with Palestinian refugees in the West Bank and Gaza and Jordan and Lebanon and Syria. And I got an interest in Islam then, and then I studied it at university. So for me it is a great pleasure to speak about Islam, and I want to speak about Islam and multiculturalism. And multiculturalism is defined as, in my view, a country that has elements of many different cultures living in a harmonious way. And so today I will talk about Australia's experience with Islam and some of the lessons we have learned, but also Pakistan's contribution to Islam. Because Pakistan has had an important contribution to Islam so this one earlier. But first, okay. So yeah, this is a young Muslim girl in Australia wearing hijab. But first I want to talk to you about Australia and give you some idea of the size. So I'm not sure if you can see India, but that is Australia. So if you look on the left-hand side, it goes to Egypt, and you look on the right, I don't know if you can see, but if you look on the right-hand side, it goes to India. So if you put Australia on this map, we are a very, very big country. But we only have 25 million people. So it's like the size of Karachi, depending on when the census is finished. They all tell us more. But Australia is a vibrant and multicultural society. And my experience in Pakistan is that Pakistan is also very diverse, from different people from all over the different cultures, tribes, but living together. And I think that cultural diversity is a strength, and it's very important that we all preserve and build on the diversity in both our countries. So this is, today I want to share with you a little bit about the Australian experience and Sudan, I think. And you can see we have Muslims from many different just became citizens that are wearing the flag. But I'll give you some statistics about Australia and the diversity. Half of Australia's population, around 12 million people, either were born overseas or one of their parents was born overseas. So half of the population have some contact or were born overseas, including me. I was born in England, but my parents left when I was very young. The Australians, the 25 million people, come from 200 different countries, coming to one country, and speak about almost 400 languages in Australia. And nearly 20% of Australians speak a language other than English in their home in Australia. So it is a very, I would say, I use the term like a fruit salad, many different things, people living together. As well as being culturally diverse, we're also more religiously diverse. This is very popular in Australia, by the way. We always have barbecue, if there's an election or if there's a sports event, or you always have a barbecue, and you can see this is a Muslim population. Doing that there. Now we have 800,000 Australians who are Muslims. So 3%, almost 3% of Australians, or more than 3%, are Muslims. Islam is the second most common religion, and it's the fastest growing religion in Australia. And it's one of the vital and integral part of our mosaic of communities and languages. Senator Fatima Payman, the lady on the right, the youngest senator in our parliament, and she was originally from Afghanistan. The lady on the left is a minister. She's originally from Egypt, Azza Ali, Anne Ali. She's also now a Muslim. And we have another minister as well. You as a Muslim. What that means is when you go to the country, you do it on the Quran, and you don't do it on the Bible. You do it on the Quran if you're a Muslim. And they have done it on the Quran. But Islam is not new. And this is where Pakistan comes in. So these pictures, you can see the top left have a long camel and a ship. And this is in 1860. So in 1860, Australia brought the camels and the cameleers, we call them, the people who looked after the camels. We brought them from Afghanistan and Balochistan in Pakistan to Australia to help bring goods between our cities. And many of them stayed and became and brought, of course, Islam to Australia. So they first arrived in Melbourne from Karachi in 1861, and in the next sort of 30 years we had 20,000 camels come and about 4,000 Baloch Pakistani people come with the camels to look after them. They used to take goods before the railways. They helped us take goods between our towns. And of course they built the first mosque in Australia, is on the right. Was built by Baloch people. Very basic mosque, but that was the first one. Now we have, of course, many mosques in Australia. When the railway came and we had no need for camels, the camels were set free. And now we have 1 million camels across Australia, just wild. Wild camels, originally from Balochistan, but now their great-great-grandfathers from Balochistan, but now these camels are just wandering around Australia. The first mosque, as I say, was built in South Australia, and now we have not only mosques, but we have churches and synagogues, and every faith has representatives in Australia. Another example here, this is a Pakistani member of parliament, Mahreen Faruqi. She's leader of the Greens Party. And as you can see, we have, Pakistanis often wear shawal kameezes as well. So if any of you, if I took you today and put you in Sydney or Melbourne, people will not go, oh, that's a foreigner. They will ask you direction because you will look Australian. Many Australians will look just like you, wearing a shawal kameez or whatever. And this is something I'm very proud about. We also have many Pakistanis studying in Australia. We have about 15,000 Pakistanis studying in Australia. So this is the social cohesion and the tolerance is very important to have in a society and in a successful society. And of course we have here, as you can see, Islamic schools. They are schools for Muslims, girls and boys have been set up, and the government pays for these schools. Like public schools, you have public schools, and you have public Christian schools, you have public Muslim schools, and you can decide where to send your children. And here you can see girls playing rugby. Of course, this is a very popular sport in Australia. We have in one province alone, called New South Wales, There are 28 Islamic schools with over 20,000 students. So Islam is growing all the time. And you have mosques and imams, and if you go to some places on Friday in Sydney, you will see Friday prayers, you will hear it from the muezzin, and people feel you can buy the food, and you know, it feels very much like you're in Islamabad, which it's not surprising. And I should say the number of Pakistanis in Australia, when Baba Azam was playing with the cricket team recently in Sydney, he said playing in Sydney was like playing in Pakistan because there are so many Pakistani supporters for the Pakistani cricket team. So in Australia we are committed to this interfaith dialogue, and when I go to Quetta, or I meet the ulama and the religious leaders, because it is important that we all support interfaith dialogue, be it the Christians or the Sikh or the Hindu communities here in Pakistan. But in Australia, there have been problems, there have been challenges, and many Muslims have experienced discrimination and racist comments in Australia, especially at the beginning. I think it's becoming less now, but it is something that we are always trying to improve, and it's important for us that every person feels at home in Australia. So the Australian Human Rights Commission tracks and monitors any racist comments or racist actions against any minority community and makes a report on it. And one of the outcomes of these reports, because so many Australians have felt, Muslims have experienced some racist comments, one of the recommendations is there need to be more Muslim Australians in the media. And so we're very lucky to have this guy on the right. His name is Waleed Ali, and his wife. Both of them, mashallah, are great media people. And he is very famous, he's almost like a rock star in Australian media. Very, very smart. So if you ever have a chance to listen to anything by Waleed Ali, I would recommend it because he's very good. But these kinds of role models help educate other Australians that, you know, Australians can be many different faces and many different beliefs. The important thing, though, as well, is that 3/4, over 75% of Muslims in Australia also feel Australian. For us, it's important that if you're a Muslim, it's not either Australian or either Muslim. No, if you're Muslim, you need to feel Australian. It's up to us as a country to make everyone feel that they're Australian. We still have more work to do. It is still not, I don't want to say there is no problems. There are, but it is something that the government takes very seriously, and we are trying to do all we can to make everyone feel at home. Public education and awareness, so they have open days in mosques where people can go to the mosques. Schools are taught about different religions, and we also want to have stronger laws to protect people. So that cooperation across the multicultural communities are very important, and it's this tolerance and openness to other ideas is key to a united and successful society, as we have seen here in Pakistan. Another big, in Australia everyone plays sport, one kind or another. I was lucky enough just the other day, I played hockey here with the Nishtars in Rawalpindi. There's some very good hockey players, but in Australia everyone plays sport one way or another. And here we have a very famous Muslim, Bashar Hooli, who is a very, very good rugby player. And these kind of people are very important in promoting Islam and just making people feel comfortable. One area that's very difficult is on the beach. Australia has the most beautiful beaches in the world. Lots of people go to the beach, go surfing, etc. But for Muslim women, it's more difficult because you don't want to wear a bikini. So what happened is in Australia, they designed what's called the burqini. And this is the burqini, which is Australian designed for women to feel comfortable swimming wearing traditional swimming wear. And now this is used by many countries around the world to make women feel comfortable. The other problem is that because Muslim women were reluctant to swim, many drowned. There was many high rates of girls drowning, and so there are now swimming pools in Australia that are set. They have times only for women in order to train them how to swim. And because women, if they don't want to go when there's mixed, so they have times only for women to train them how to swim. Because the beaches in Australia, they're beautiful, but they're also very dangerous. And we have many people who drown by swimming. Some are usually, there are shark attacks. You always hear about shark attacks, but it's not the sharks that's the problem, it's the lack of swimming. So something like this is a practical way to make everyone feel part of Australian society. We also have one of my colleagues, the first Muslim ambassador for Australia, Ridwan Jadwat, and he's also the special representative to the Organisation of Islamic Cooperation based in Jeddah. And so he represents Australian Muslims in the OIC. He himself came to Australia when he was 9 as a Muslim South Asian from South Africa. And him and his family, and now he is one of our leading ambassadors as well. You can see on the left, it's not just in the other parts of society. He is the imam for the Muslims in the military. And in the middle we have a policewoman, and on the right we have a captain, and she was one of the most advanced missile technicians in Australian Navy, and again wearing the hijab. This is something, it's important for us that we have in all our society women and people from all communities, so they feel comfortable and feel that Australia represents them. The other good thing, of course, is the halal foods. So you have very, very good shawarma and the food that you can buy is amazing. When I was ambassador in Saudi Arabia, I had to go to Bahrain to open a food exhibition because I was also ambassador in Bahrain. So I went there and I saw they were selling Australian goods, Australian Arabic bread and Australian hummus. So we are selling to the Middle East Arabic bread and hummus from Australia. I thought this was very, very strange. But again, I think it shows the kind of communities that we are building. And they're very, very popular. But for me as ambassador, it is important, as I said at the beginning, to meet all communities in Pakistan and to listen and to promote the ideas of interfaith harmony, women's rights, and to do that with all the different communities and to celebrate. So this was an iftar that we held for children in Farash Township during Ramadan, and taking part and making people feel comfortable in and making it common for us to be seen talking to Muslims, and it is a very important part of our role, and it's one that I enjoy a lot as well. I'm not going to talk for very long, and I'm happy to have more of a discussion, but I think a successful society and a successful community relies on that tolerance, and the tolerance also relies on diversity. So some people see diversity as a problem, but for us diversity is a strength. And especially from KPK, you know what it means about diversity. You know what it means about being welcoming to people from outside society than we are. But you also can see that the opportunities from having a diverse, successful society. And I think that I would end with a saying from the hadith from Ali ibn Abi Talib, where he says, "An-nas sanfain, imma akh lak fi ad-din, aw nazir lak fi al-khalaq." So there are two kinds of people. Either they're your brothers in your religion, or they're brothers in your humanity. And I think this one is that it doesn't matter where you're from, you're brothers or sisters, either in religion or in humanity. And this is something we are trying to apply in Australia, but also learning from countries like Pakistan. So thank you, and I'm happy to have some questions.